Should you buy the Victorinox Rescue Tool? Victorinox has been advertising this for whether you are or are not an emergency services professional, but does it actually meet the needs of either of those groups of people? My name's Anne. I do have a part-time job where we sometimes have to extricate people from vehicles, but I'm totally not God's gift to the emergency services field. And if you are God's gift to the emergency services field, please make a video about this because I would personally love to see more from you, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people who would. My attempt with this video is really just to answer some questions that I had before I bought the video, so that hopefully if you're considering buying this, and at $107, it is a bit of an investment. You'll have some input from someone else. If you are at an extrication scene, there could be a variety of tasks that need to be done. This is obviously not going to replace the jaws of life. You're not going to be cutting the top of the car off or removing the doors from the vehicle with this. However, maybe what you really need is to get into the patient. Or if you are the person who's in the vehicle, maybe you need to break a window in order to get out. There's a very functional glass breaker on here. It's going to work. It has a very small surface area on here, and there is video online of people using this to break glass. Alternatively, if you work on an ambulance, you could have something like this. This is the Leatherman Raptor Rescue. It has a very nice glass breaker on it. Either of these work by smashing the tip of the glass breaker against the window, and the small surface area sends a lot of force into the window, breaking it and causing it to shatter everywhere. You will get glass on the patient and on yourself, but that kind of is something to be expected. Do everything you can to protect both the patient and yourself from that glass if possible. Then, of course, to get through, you'll want to kind of cover the edges of the window where you might have to crawl over with some kind of blanket or clothing or something so that you don't get cut, or the person coming in or out of the vehicle does not get cut. If you are not somebody who works in the emergency services field, you may have something like this. And even in the emergency services field, we do carry things like this much of the time because it is a spring-loaded glass breaker. This will work underwater. You won't be able to get up enough velocity with something like this to make it work. But the spring-loaded ones, you simply press against the window and the spring actually builds up the force and then shoots out the glass breaker, and it breaks the glass for you. Once the glass is broken on the side windows, you've pretty much achieved your goal. But if you were trying to break the windshield glass, you probably have not achieved your goal. With any of these, you very likely have made a hole in the glass, but it's not going to be, it's going to be a very small hole, not like something you could get through. That is where this next tool comes into play. This is the glass saw. And let me I don't feel like I should be demonstrating this without the extrication gloves on. And plus, I would like to show that these tools are usable with some heavier style gloves. To use this saw, you put it through the hole you made and then you rip back. There's good video from Victorinox in their original kind of training/advertisement video that you can find online. I'll try to put a link to it below. And that's how this is used. You then replace it in the end of the cut and then extend the cut further. This is a replaceable saw. After you've used it once, you would probably want to replace it again. It's a very unique tool. There is no other way I know of that you can get a laminated glass saw that's portable and, you can carry easily in your vehicle or carry easily in your pocket even. However, there might be a reason that it's unique. It might be unique because it's not really necessary. It's hard for me to think of times when an emergency services provider would want to use this saw, because more than likely you've got something larger and probably battery powered available to you. This is small. Now, could it be useful? Absolutely. I do carry this at my job, and I, sort of hope that someday it's useful, although it would be better if no one ever got in any car accidents again, but I don't see it having a lot of utility. Likewise, if you're considering carrying this as someone who is not an emergency services professional, I don't see that glass saw, which incidentally Victorinox calls a disc saw, as being a very common scenario. Like, when would you ever need to cut out your windshield? You can't get out the side doors or the side windows. Maybe. It's definitely possible. And if you want that, this is definitely the way to go, because I don't really think there's another choice. Certainly there's nothing on either of these tools that's going to cut laminated glass for you. Let's talk about seatbelts. I heard another YouTuber, and I can't find his video, I'm sorry to say, refer to this next tool, which is easily opened by just hooking the tip of it on against a seam or something like that. I heard another YouTuber refer to this as the main blade here, and I really do think it is. This is an extremely nice and very sharp strap cutter. It works fantastically, and you can definitely rely on this to cut your seatbelt if need be. If you have one of these Leatherman Raptor Rescues, you can actually just rely on the shears to cut your seatbelt, or if you'd prefer, there is here a strap cutter that you can pop out and use either while the shears are folded or while they're open. If you are not owning either of those things and you want to buy something more along the lines of this, many of these have some sort of a strap cutter. This one has one that folds out. A lot of times they just have a little slit that gives you access to the main blade here, and this also does have this blade, which could of course be used to cut a seatbelt. If you're thinking you're going to use the knife that's in your pocket, it may be difficult to get to that after a car accident, although if it's, in the right spot, it certainly could be a good option. Seatbelts do become stuck in an accident with greater frequency than I would have expected, so I think it is worth it to have some kind of a knife that's available to you in order to cut seatbelts if that's necessary to get out of the car. Let's talk about the other tools on here. There is one that I think is actually useful for extrication, and you cannot access it with gloves. That's this guy. This is well, obviously it's a screwdriver and cap lifter, but in this case, it's like a little pry bar. You can use this to help get the molding off of around the windshield, and then you grab the molding and pull it out all the way, and you can slide this in between the glass and the car and lift up the glass. And at that point, you can get something else under there and remove the glass and block. That's great because now you don't have any broken glass on people. And I do actually see this, like the strap cutter, as something that is potentially useful for a professional rescuer. There are some tools that are potentially less useful here. One is the Phillips screwdriver, and one is the awl. Not that these aren't useful in general, but they may not be super useful on a rescue tool itself. The next two tools are definitely useful, and don't let anybody tell you they are not, because you could have a stray eyebrow hair, or you could have had spinach salad for lunch, and the news media is going to show up. And if you want to look your best, the Victorinox Rescue Tool will help you get there. I'll show you how to replace this glass saw. I don't think it's the kind of thing you can use more than once, and you can buy these, and they're fairly inexpensive from Victorinox. Let's see. So the mnemonic is, here is the glass breaker, so the tip of the glass saw is right next to it. You open it just a little bit. Victorinox talks about doing this on a cabinet, but these gloves have pretty good padding on it, so I've just been doing it here. And then you just put your body weight into it, and it pops right off. And then to replace it, you obviously get a new one, and you put it back in. Likewise, you can replace the glass breaker by using a pliers and just grabbing the end and pulling it out. It is easy to do, although I had a tough time doing it with my tiny little Knipex pliers. All right, once you get this in place, you just push it back in, and there you go. So is this tool the right choice for you? It's $107 at Victorinox. The reason I keep mentioning that is because I would actually buy it from Victorinox. There are a lot of videos talking about how there are fraudulent versions of these and how to tell if it's a fraud or not that you have. But honestly, how do I want to put this? A lot of those videos also have a lot of comments saying how the videographer is wrong in what they're saying. So to me, I figured I was just going to skip this whole argument and go straight to Victorinox to buy it. If you want to get something like this, which is also very useful, this is $100 and may have greater utility in daily life and still accomplishes the most commonly performed tasks at an extrication scene for either the person in the vehicle or for the people that come upon the scene and are there to help. And that would be breaking glass and cutting seatbelts. $100. I do really like the Leatherman Raptor Rescues. I made a video about it before if you're interested. Something like this. I carry this in my car because I want the spring-loaded glass breaker in addition to the other things, but I carry this as my main self-extrication tool in the car when I'm not at work. I actually put it in its sheath, which is very nice, has a nice Velcro closure, and actually sits very comfortably on a belt through this huge belt hole, because as you move around, it kind of moves with you if you needed to kind of step out from your belt or whatever when you sit down. It's actually very comfortable. But likewise, in the car, I put the receptacle for the seatbelt right through here, and so it sits down by my side, and then I would be able to access it by just opening this, and it comes right out the front. To me, this is a very unique tool, and it's probably targeted for the For the professional rescuer, certainly is the original target, and I think it has utility for that person, and I carry it when I'm working in that role. But may I say, it's not like this, where a lot of people either have these or want these. I know one other person who carries this out of all the different firefighters and EMS professionals that I've met. So it's not a real common tool to be carried in my particular area. But I do think it provides my need for a knife, and I like having the strap cutter, and I like having the glass breaker there, even though I have this with me. This is, I can carry it like in a little bit different position, so it's more accessible to me in that situation. As an individual, I like this because I'm somebody that likes to be maybe over-prepared for things. I like to have tools available. If you are just trying to meet the minimum of what you would want to get out of a vehicle, this is probably overkill. If you want to have all the tools available to you and probably the best self-extrication tools, this is probably the right choice. But I think you could easily get away with something less expensive if expense is a concern for you. I hope this video is helpful. Please put your thoughts down below, especially if you have experience using this. We would love to hear about it. Thanks very much.